started coming here in 81.
My name is Janice Leamans, and my family started coming to this church in 1963 in University City.
Mark McClintock. I started attending this church in 1985.
Margie McClintock, and I was born and raised here so I've had attended since 1960.
Shelly Hunt, and I first started coming to New Life in 1983 and left for many years and came back in 2000.
Eric Hunt. My family came to New Life in the summer of 1971.
So I don't obviously have memories of before 1960 because that's when I was born, but my dad, Don McGarvey, eventually joined New Life when we were in University City. But my dad was childhood friends with Guy Rome way back as toddlers when Granny Rome had TB. My grandmother would babysit Guy Rome because she was quarantined. So my dad had a connection with Guy Rome prior to ministry. But at the time he grew up, married my mom, they went to Brother Ben's church on Grandel Square. When things changed at that church, he made the decision to move to University City. That's where I was born and raised from there. And then in 1968, we moved here to this building. And that's the only church I've ever known for 50 plus years. So I have great memories of this church being built because it was pretty much the men of the church built this. So when we first started having services, we were all excited to come to the new property. We would have church in the fellowship hall, which is now the lunchroom where the school eats. And then as it got more suitable for inhabiting, we'd have church here, but there were no there was just beams. It was just exposed air, and the birds would fly through here when we would have church. No carpet. But good times. We were just so excited to have a bigger place to worship. And we just worshiped the Lord along with the birds. They would fly through here. And I can remember one time, no carpet, and it was way back when Sister So-and-so, it's been requested that you sing whatever, and Almeda Denny. They requested Almeda Denny to sing. They called her from the pew, or the chair actually, and you could hear her high heels click, clop, all the way up, and that was the longest walk till she could get to the platform to sing because there was no carpet.
My dad and my uncle, Charles Simmons and Don Simmons, helped build the building. And my uncle, Don, used to come and bring his Doberman and sleep in his car at night so that people wouldn't steal all this, because they started stealing building, all our building supplies and stuff. So he would spend the night on the property with his dogs and stuff. But yeah, my dad spent a lot of time here, building the church. And we were here one time, and my younger sister Geraldine, the balcony didn't have any carpet, and she was playing up there, and I think she was following my dad, and she fell, and they had a can of, I think it was glue or something that was open. She fell and cut her eye, and it just started gushing blood, and so we ran to get Brother Rome, and he prayed, and it stopped instantly. We thought she was going to have to stitch it, but she didn't have to. And also Margie and I were first two baptized here.
Yes, we were.
Margie was first. Her dad baptized her, and then Brother Rome baptized.
September of 68, so we're talking 55 years ago this month. Remember, wasn't it September? Yes. Yeah.
Everything was already in place in 71 when we got here.
The orange carpet.
No, it wasn't orange.
It was red. That's
Oh,
right.
it was red.
Red carpet.
Gold pews.
And gold
red
carpet on the
and
pews.
y'all, red.
And dark wood paneling everywhere.
Yes.
Everywhere. Dark wood paneling.
Everywhere where it's white or whatever that is now, that was paneling.
And this wall this drywall wasn't up here. You had the windows up there that was the choir loft, and the same with the balcony, had the colored windows.
So that really was a choir loft where people stood and sang? up there?
Yes, in our Christmas cantatas, and Bill McGavick directed
Aw.
with our green skirts and our gold sashes. Remember we had that Easter drama and Jesus rose from the grave and on a pulley, and that's where he ended up, didn't he? Way up there in the
That must have been before me.
we
Was that-
we harnessed Jesus to a pulley.
Like around 1980 or so?
Yeah, that was
Yeah.
in the 80s,
And
mid-80s.
there were guys
Okay.
like pulling Jesus up, and he disappeared up there in the choir loft somewhere.
Yeah.
I do remember this in the 70s. Church services would be Tuesday night, Thursday night, Saturday night, twice on Sunday.
Oh,
And Sunday night didn't start till like 7 o'clock.
that's right.
And we never had a short service, it seemed like. So, yeah.
And you had to be here at 4:30 if you were on fire.
Yeah. And of course, my dad was one that if the church doors were open, we're there. So 5 nights a week. Revival services would be every night of the week.
So let me ask you this. Before you guys built here, where was before here?
Edsel.
Sutter and
University.
Edsel. That's the place for me.
Okay, and that's what, when they say
University
University
Yeah,
City,
University
that's what they're
City.
talking about,
Yeah.
is Edsel?
Which
Yes,
is
Sutter
University City.
University
Okay.
City.
Now, where is that building at now?
It's
What-
still there.
It's still there?
It's a
and
church.
It's a church. Okay, okay.
But the parking was so limited, remember, around the building? We had to park across the street
Okay.
at University City.
So that's where it started, after it started in their home.
home. Yes.
And then Edsel,
Yes.
and then it came here.
Yes.
Okay, I got you.
Brother Rome really was a visionary to move us from there to here, because this is where the growth was.
In fact, I think Pauline and Arlo Rubel are the ones that found this property
Yes.
and told them about it.
Yes.
I mean, that's a big change to move your congregation
It
from
is.
University City.
And I mean, this was all undeveloped. I mean, there was hardly
Yeah.
anything
There was
here.
nothing.
Yeah, late
Just-
60s, this was,
Yeah, it was just a big hill with trees and
Okay.
woods.
But man, Janice, you lived way out in O'Fallon driving to University City. It was a long trek to her
Sure.
house. So, and we moved out here. My dad saw that progression of growth. So we moved from Richmond Heights to Maryland Heights in anticipation of the church coming here. And so, oh my goodness, we were here in 7 minutes as opposed to 30. So it was such a blessing. And thank God Guy Rome's was such a visionary.
They lived there.
They lived there, yes. That's where we would ride Amos, the pony.
Is that the house that they had the services in, that they started the church in? Or no?
No, that was down in,
Okay.
that was down in University City.
Yes.
Suburban.
Oh, suburban.
Suburban,
Yeah, that's
yeah.
where the
Yes,
house was.
yes,
was
yes,
suburban.
yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And it's right on the edge of Wellston, so it's real, I mean, right on the edge.
That's before our time, but I do remember Jim Rome saying his bedroom was a Sunday school, or his bedroom was the nursery. So he would try to go to bed at night and find out
Kids had wet.
kids had wet his bed.
Oh,
He would talk about that. Yes, he would.
oh no.
That was a sacrifice for Guy and Lily Rome to do that.
We lived in O'Fallon, and so when we would come to church, it was like a 45-minute drive from O'Fallon all the way to University City. And, you know, with church starting so late and everything, by the time we got home at night, it was late, you know, so my mom would bring our pajamas
Oh, I remember
and
that.
we would change
We would
into our
yes.
pajamas because we were usually asleep by the time we got home, and my parents would either carry us in or wake us up and walk us into bed.
I know that is. That just about makes you.
I was just
think
gonna
of that. The
I was just gonna
dedication.
say,
And
I
we were
remember
there every time.
Janice bringing her jammies to church.
Oh wow.
Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday,
Yes.
twice on Sunday. And one time I got left at church on Sunday, and my mom and dad got, I don't know if they were halfway home or what, who realized I wasn't in the car. and I looked all over for him and I couldn't find him. And so in the church, when you entered in the foyer, there was like steps going down, and there was like a landing. You took like 6 steps and then the landing and then on down. And so I just like, well, my parents are gone. So I just spread my little coat down and sat on it and was just sitting there waiting.
Hoping somebody would realize.
She finally came back and got me. But I was just like, they forgot me. I don't think I was crying or anything, because I was at church and, but.
And after several years of therapy, everything was okay.
I just know that Guy Rome loved horses,
Yeah.
and wasn't it like an outreach and just to draw
Kids.
Fun
for the
he
kids
would bring
too.
it and let you ride it. I don't have vivid memories just because I have a picture of me on Amos, but
Was it a Shetland pony or a small?
I think so.
Because he used to
Yes.
talk about putting the pony in the back seat of his car.
I remember.
He didn't even have a pickup truck, just put it in the
Yes,
back of the
back of the
car.
car. Remember that.
For me, and this might tie in with one of the other questions that was on the list, but for me, what's really important here is to see that we're still preaching the same apostolic oneness doctrine, holy life, evangelism, reaching the lost. I really think that, if we could bring back some of those original members, your dad, Brother Rome, some of the others, I think they'd be very glad to see that this church is still on that path.
yeah.
And, I know that was why my dad chose to bring us here when we moved back in 71. And, that's why we've stayed 20 years now, 23 years that we've been here since we came back. And just to know that it's a solid foundation on the word and nothing has, a few cosmetic things have changed and maybe a few methods have changed, but the message is still the same message that Guy Rome preached.
I think you learn a lot from different people. There's so many influences on your life. And I think the influences are different for, like Guy Rome. What a visionary and a prince of a man. He was a lover of people. And you could feel his love. And that was, he loved everybody. And you always felt like that he was, he loved you as much as anybody else. He just cared for everybody. It was a people person. And then Jim Rome came, and he was an organizer, and he put things together. He organized the church departments and finances and things, and also he was a great worship leader. And the practical teaching that he did was a great influence. Brother Jones, man, he came and gave such great ministry and spirit and great preaching. And of course, Brother Tracy fulfilled the dream of, finally building. We gave to the building fund for years and years.
That is
We saw a building go up. He completed a lot of things and also a great man, Prince of a Guy. So, and that's where we haven't been in the last few years, but it's different influences. And then not only the ministry, but the people in this church. Sister Rome was like the Queen Mother.
Yeah.
She was just a great lady. I think someone mentioned Sister Wagner. I remember Sister Wagner was here, and she was just faithful. She was like the pioneer person from the, way back, and just a great person. Sister Perkins, I remember Sister Perkins. And she would testify, and her testimony would turn into a worship session, and it would ignite the church. Such a great memories. Lonnie and Donna Brown, oh my goodness, they did everything. They worked hard. They set an example of service in the church. And Marvin Curry, of course, he had a pulpit presence. He led worship a lot, but he was an encourager. He spoke to people. He would come to me and I just remember him saying, just privately, just encouraging words. And I think he was a great man. Brother Romeg, I know he's probably, he's been here forever, but his worship, his music, just consistent. The Denny's, Gene and Almeda Denny. I love those people. I love the country music,
Yeah.
and their ministry and music. I always loved accompanying them and doing the turnaround.
But we mentioned some of these names. can you remember where those people sat?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Margaret Perkins was right there.
Sister Wagner was always right
Yes.
over here.
Lily Rome. And Sister Wagner was the Sunday school secretary. I'm not sure if it was second grade or third, but she would be out in the hall every Sunday to almost the day she died, taking attendance
Yeah.
and making sure the kids had their snack and just, I mean, she was elderly and so committed to that. So I resonate with Mark on that. The men that and women that went before us set that example, and I feel like we are the faithful, dedicated because of that influence. Had we not had that example set before us, we may not have been as committed, but we have a lot of big shoes to fill.
Do you remember Sister Doris Fallon in her flannel grams?
yeah,
She was like one of the best teachers.
love
We would
the
sit
flannel.
mesmerized. She had the
Yes.
flannel graph board and she would teach us these stories and we were just like, you know, we didn't want her to quit, you know.
Yeah.
And Brother Sister Roman, they were always involved in Sunday school too.
Right. My mom taught second grade with them for years. Yeah.
And then I remember Brother Sister Evans, remember she'd get up and testimony, she would start a song.
song.
Just and it would just be
And
awesome.
it's just, yes,
It was
like spot on.
And what we needed. You know,
Yes.
it was
Yes.
amazing to hear these people.
Did Sister Wagner's husband come to church?
No,
So for her faithfulness and her dedication, and her husband was not going
never.
to church, that is amazing.
Yes.
That's amazing.
Yes, it is.
You know, Mark, you mentioned how Brother Rome, how he loved people and everything. But he wouldn't hesitate to call out the young people anytime if we were,
No.
you young people need to stop talking and listen. It's like,
Yeah.
yeah. Even if you
That's
weren't
a tough
talking.
one.
Yeah, even if you weren't, even if I wasn't sitting near the person talking, I knew I'm in trouble when I get home, man. because-
My dad used to be assistant to Guy Rome, and he had to be instant in season and out because if Guy Rome wasn't able, he would have to pull a sermon out. And,
Yeah.
like sometimes the phone would ring at dinner, and Brother McGarvey, I'm going to need you to teach Tuesday night Bible study tonight. Yes, sir. So he was always on the platform ready,
Yeah.
and I would sit over there with my friends, and if I got too chatty, my dad would go,
Oh, no.
I can,
And I-
I can see him doing that too.
and
I
I
can- yeah.
knew, oh, Jesus, I better shut my mouth, because I knew I was going to get it when I got home.
That's
You all
good.
remember Brother McGarvey taking the offering, all his offering stories.
Yeah.
I'd like to call your attention to 1 Corinthians, blah, 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 like he was going to preach. The first 4 words, and people would be like, oh, Brother McGarvey's going to preach? Now, concerning the collection. And that meant it was offering time. He was very funny about the offering.
Man, Brother Rome was good at raising money too, though. Remember, he'd get up and just, we're going to take pledges, and in 5 minutes, he'd raise money for Gateway or Sheaves for Christ or for whatever, you know, raise a bunch of money. And he'd always give, you know, it's just Rome and I would give the first 1,000 or whatever, and it would go from there. Yeah.
We were always raising money for Gateway.
Well, yeah, Gateway.
Because
Every other service was raise money for Gateway, yeah.
Pastoring this church, district superintendent and president of Gateway.
Yeah.
He spread himself so thin.
Yeah, I doubt Gateway would have been here without.
It is
Yeah,
the
without
truth.
him, but
Yeah. And he used
Urshan.
It's Urshan.
Urshan.
yeah.
Gateway, that definitely dates us.
You remember Brother Rome buying up a bunch of suits and keeping them in the back office?
Yes.
And if anybody came through town needing a suit or down on their luck or whatever, he said, come back in the office. I think I might have a suit for you. And he would always give, just give all the time to people.
I remember when Marvin Curry taught a Sunday school class downstairs. And it kept growing and growing, and people were just coming and bringing chairs, and it was incredible Sunday school class.
I do. I remember that. And I always wanted to sit in there to get, it was like the not newcomers, but like a foundational
Yeah.
series. And so I asked him, can I just be the secretary so I can hear you teach? Because I love your lessons. And one thing, tagging on to that, Neil, Marvin Curry would always say is, God is what you need when you need him.
Oh,
I've never forgotten that. God is what you need when you need him. And I just gleaned so much from him. I thank you for saying that, because that was a good memory.
I do remember too the young adults class. Remember when Sister Tenny and Mark Clayton taught it? It was where the church office is now. And there were so many, they had to open the doors and they were even out in the hall.
College career.
College career class. They had so many people in there. I don't even know how many they were in.
Yeah. And they ended up
Yes.
moving downstairs just past that steam table. They opened up that room because my brother helped teach that too. That was a huge class.
It was very.
How did we ever make it before the gym was built and those rooms? You know, I mean, it was, yeah, man, everything, we were just,
We
you
were
know, Sunday mornings, there were so many people here. This place was packed every Sunday morning and Sunday night.
Remember the one we had the fountain?
Fountains.
You don't remember that? Oh, remember that thing?
and it thing
Dancing.
leaked like
Yeah.
a sieve, and we had to get like a tarp, didn't we, Neil, to keep it
yeah.
from
Yeah.
soaking the
And they put
platform?
it out front for a while.
It's like with Brother Jim Rome, we always had great dramas.
Yeah.
Christmas, or East, were they Easter?
Easter.
Yeah.
Easter.
Usually.
And it was
That drew a crowd.
big crowds. Well, I like, my early years were in Detroit. My dad pastored in Detroit. And I love how this has become a multicultural church.
yes, yeah.
It's just, it's so neat to see. And going to be what heaven's like.
That is true. It's true.
Good. Well, even though we're not here anymore, we're very proud to be part of the legacy. And we love New Life.
Well, this church has been my whole life pretty much. I came here in '63 when I was 3 years old. And, you know, I got baptized, got the Holy Ghost. All me and my sisters all had miracles happen here. I wasn't supposed to live to the age of 10. I had Bright's disease. And actually, Margie's grandma is the one that I was really sick. And my mom was talking to her, and she's talking about how I was always had a sore throat. And she's like, well, does she like chocolate? My mom said, oh, she loves chocolate ice cream, you know. And so that led him into me finding I had allergies, and he sent me to a doctor, and I was getting like so skinny and just I didn't have any energy. And so that's when they diagnosed me with Bright's disease. And I was supposed to have a transplant, and the Sunday night before I was to go in for that, Brother Ron prayed for me. But all along I had it, they found it when I was like 7. It's when I went to my first doctor's appointment. And by the time I was 9, I spent my first grade at home. Well, we're actually at my babysitter's. They would bring my schoolwork to me because I couldn't walk. I could only walk from where I was sleeping to the kitchen or the bathroom. And so it just kept getting worse. And then at times Brother Ron would call me out of my Sunday school class and have me prayed for, you know, or I don't know how many times I was prayed for. But night before I was supposed to go in for the surgery, Brother Ron called me up. And I think I was sleeping because the disease made me tired. I was sleeping all the time, you know. And so my mom brought me up, and Brother Ron asked the church to join in and pray. Everybody prayed. And I felt the change inside of me while they were praying. It was like I felt the hands of God just changing what was wrong, you know. And so my mom, you know, she was crying, and I looked up at her when Brother Ron got done, and I said, Mom, why are you crying? And she was like, it's okay, you know. And I said, the Lord just healed me.
Wow.
And I was 9. And after church that night, 2 men, Brother Evans and Brother Brown, came up to her and said, Janice was healed tonight. So I went on and went to the hospital. And on Monday, they did x-rays, I think. And I was supposed to, they were going to analyze all that. And then they were going to take me up for surgery the next day. They said it'd be like from 3 to 5 hours or 6 hours surgery. And I was back down in my room in 30 minutes. And my mom was like, what's going on, you know? And and where's the doctor? And they said, oh, he left the hospital. And she's like, wait, do you want to talk to him? And she said, yes, I do. And so they called him and he came back to the hospital and he's like, well, I know it was there because I have the x-rays, but when we viewed the x-rays and before surgery, everything was perfect. There was nothing wrong. And she goes, well, we prayed for a miracle. And he goes, well, you got one. Janice can go home today. And he walked out.
I would say for me, since we didn't come till 2000, we came at a very critical time in our lives. And I remember Brother Tracy calling us, not knowing who we were, but just calling us and making contact with us. And if it hadn't been for him that night taking the time with us, I don't know what we would have done.
Wow.
Moving a family of five, I was pregnant with Joshua. It was time we needed a change, and the Lord directed us here. But you have 3 kids that you're taking from the known, and they're going to the unknown. And I just remember, had it not been for Brother Tracy and Sister Tracy, just taking us in under their wings, I don't know what we would have done. And I feel like New Life is that place. You know, we've all seen people come that just need to sit and heal, or just need to sit for a while and just kind of regroup and collect themselves. And then, you know, they go out and they're fine. But I feel like it's a place of healing and restoration and rest. And I really appreciate that about Brother Tracy.
I just pray it continues to grow and flourish, and that God will bless the bachelors and all y'all to just keep moving forward, pursuing the kingdom.
I heard a message one time. I think you all were with here too. We stand on the shoulders of giants. I don't know who spoke that, but I visualize, you know, you can visually see just we're standing on the people that have gone before us. And I hope that if the Lord tarries, that in maybe 20 years, people can say they're standing on the shoulders of us giants, that we've left behind a legacy that people can build on and stand on, the truth, the Word of God.